for anybody who like might not even know what that is, or maybe we don't have to go into like the very basics of what a DAO is, but I guess talk to any experience with the DAO that you have, and like if you think they're valuable, if you're in one, or like kind of just and maybe what you think about the one in this game, or any one that you might have in your own syndicate. And we'll just start with Zaga.
So I whenever I talk to my friends about, so what's your job right now and stuff like that, and then same as you, Cyan, like they would I would always explain what a DAO is, and then tell them that, hey, DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization and how it works. And of course, the rules behind it, that the more governance token that someone has, the stronger the voting power he or she has, and stuff like that. And then overall, um, it's still a more transparent and a decentralized way of running the company, as opposed to the traditional method. So whenever they hear how I try to explain it, they like something like opens up to them, and they start googling it, and then they start to try and look for other DAO organizations, stuff like that. So, and in terms of um, with Perion, we are also a DAO, but we're focused on gaming. So what we do is we lease NFT assets to great players to focus on NFT games. In parallel to leasing to those games, we also have a very active VC arm wherein we aside from allocating those assets, we also try to help those games in terms of their economic systems, and we advise them on what seems to be working, what seems not to be working through the lens of our experience. And that's the difference with us, because we have different departments that work with different that has different functions, and they're the ones, like for example our VC arm, they're the ones that talk to the game developers and stuff like that, so that they're in charge of the marketing as well.
Okay, wow, yeah. So you guys have a pretty complex or evolved system, I would say, at this point, right? How old is Purion as a organization?
As an organization, it's more than a year. Our
Oh,
founders are mostly gamers. One of the founders is an ex-pro, semi-pro League of Legends player, and he also used to be the top one with Axie Infinity.
okay,
Yeah, so
very nice.
that's kind of how it started. And then we also have one, actually two, that are very good with tokenomics, crypto, and they bonded together, and then that's the birth of Period.
Great. All right, cool. So now that I think about it, I kind of want this to be like, if anybody just has thoughts, you can kind of jump in at this point. We don't have to. It's like, 'cause some of you might not have that many, like anything to say on it, and that's totally fine. But if anybody has thoughts, like just jump off. I want it to be an open combo.
I think I kind of explain it is you're almost like an active shareholder. Like you actually get to mold the company or project or whatever you're in, so you can help out. Like I've participated a bit in Railgun DAO, which is a privacy project for crypto, which I'm really passionate about. And I just like that you can put input in about what direction the company can go. And, I mean, unless you're in the top 1% of a company, when do you get to put input in? So it's a really cool idea, and I like the decentralized nature of it all.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like you don't need to all be together. You don't need to ever have met each other, but you can trust the mechanism, right, of the voting mechanism. And so that's really great. I really like that part of DAOs.
That's what we've tried to do with our gang structure. We have our own kind of high table. We call it the round table 13. So again, we get in there and vote on direction of what we're going to do next, and what do you think of this? And so we're kind of adopting that as well. But the funny thing is too, like I've been in crypto since 2017, trading, investing, the whole thing. I've been a gamer for over 30 years, and the funny thing was, I'm old.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean myself to say that out loud.
Everything you say, are you sure you're not me? Because everything you say, is like, I'm being there. That's what I've done. It's just weird.
Yeah, Yeah, there you go. But it's funny, hey, like until I started obviously been researching NFTs and stuff like that, and came across Syn City, had never heard of a DAO. You know, wasn't even interested in looking into it. Too busy trading, too busy investing, doing my own research. You know, fundamentals. And then this comes up, and it's like this game's on a DAO. I'm like, what the hell is that? You know, and that's a beauty about this space too. You're constantly learning. You know, there's always something new to learn. You know, even like gaming scholarships and things like that. You know, whether Syn City goes that way as well, who knows?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
Can I just offer my bit of experience with that, if I may?
Please.
So I'm in Bankless DAO, and I found a little niche in there, which is Bankless Africa. And I did not think I could find a group of people like that in such a large, an even larger group of people, because Bankless is huge. I was in there like a while back, and then I left because I could not figure out where to go. But then one day I decided to just, sit down, just give myself time to just understand how they function. Because that's another thing I've realized. There's so many people who are still learning and trying to figure out what a DAO is. There are some that are called DAOs, but don't operate like one. So finding one that is actually fully operating with that mandate of full on transparency, and that, transparent governance is a whole other, beast on its own. So when I found Bankless, and I got into it, and I, gave my time to it, and then I found Bankless Africa, that's when I felt like, okay, this is big for me, because I'm actually seeing myself making a difference in a certain, way. I'm finding that my voice matters. And when you're in a big space like that, it's hard to believe that every single person's opinion is going to count, but it does. In a very transparent, very clear way, every single person knows that they are valued, and their opinion, impacts the whole organization as a whole. And that's not something that we get to do in, our away from keyboard lives. So when I explain it to people, I try to show them the version of that in, the away from keyboard, real physical life version, and say, imagine if you could fix that, and everyone in that company mattered in terms of what they thought, what their opinions were, what their ideas were, and what their capabilities were. And then you just translate that into a digital space. So I don't fuss myself too much about trying to explain every single word, because nothing is succinct, nothing is, cut and dry in this space. Everything is just kind of, we learn as we go. So, I mean, sometimes I make mistakes when I'm trying to explain stuff, but I figure, hey, well, let's all learn together. Come with me on the journey. I know you don't see much of me anymore, but you can figure out better than I can tell you. So I think it's just always fun to like find new stuff.
Exactly. I think it's one of those things, like other technological innovations, I guess, that it's hard to explain before the person has like a product in front of them that they can use with it. Like, I just think so much of this when I'm trying to explain concepts, I just think about what it must have been like for people in the 90s who understood the internet and were trying to explain it to people. Like, it's just like, until you have the product in your hand, and then it's like, oh, you just like typed out this text, and now this other person across the world sees it. That was probably like an aha moment for some people, like, oh my gosh, like, whoa, that's crazy. And it's like, telling them what the internet is before having that example would just be really hard. And so, like, to me, like, a DAO is not as complicated maybe in that sense, but it's just like, I think at some point everyone's going to be in many DAOs, because they're going to prove so useful for solving certain problems that like they'll just be cropping up constantly over like decades, right? And so at some point it'll just be like, how many are you, like, people will be in a bunch of them that like have to do with their interests. You might like, in my ideal world, it's like, maybe you don't have to work for a company. Maybe you are a part of and contributing to many different DAOs and getting value in many different ways. And it's just kind of like, that's how you can live, right? And so, I mean, that would be great if we get to that point.